Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of our Saturday shows. It's a Shine Out Loud on Saturday, and I'm featuring an incredible woman. This woman is the chair and founder of the Black British Business Awards, and she is so much more. A business strategist, a management consultant, a problem solver. This is the fantastic, incredible, and very funny Melanie Eusebe. So join me and welcome Melanie. Hi. Hello, Melanie.
Melanie? Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Brilliant.
Okay. So let's jump right in because you wear so many hats. So my first question is, what is a management consultant and how did you get into it?
I got into being a management consultant because my mother needed me to have a professional career and I didn't want to be a lawyer or a doctor. That is exactly. I can't lie to you. I didn't even know what a management consultant was until, probably second or third year university. So up until then, I thought I was going to be either a lawyer, because I'm a bit talkative. I'm an advocate, or I thought I was going to be a doctor because I loved helping people. And what I think those two careers didn't account for were just some of the in regards to some of the kind of problem solving around money and figures and business and kind of the economic empowerment thread that I have in my life. And so a management consultant is, we consult management, so management level problems. We usually work with large organizations at the C-suite and management level. So that's hence the word management. And we help them solve big business problems. So whether that be auditing their finances, which is pretty standard for the big kind of management consultancy firms, or it's about solving kind of mergers, acquisitions, new product launches, new business launches, cutting costs, increasing revenue. That's basically what we do. We go in as, one person or a team, and we speak to people, and we're kind of tapped into the market as well, and we solve big business problems.
Okay, so it's about solving high-level problems. And when you look at management consultancy, where does the business strategy sit in, and what does it take for you to succeed in that?
For management consultancy, there are a few hard kind of capabilities. So definitely you should be comfortable with numbers, logic, problem solving. You should have a good awareness of your industry, a good awareness of your industry. And what that means is that you should have a thirst for whatever industry you're consulting in, because you have to stay ahead of the game because people are paying you for that knowledge. Right. Additionally, it's great to be able to work with a wide client set because you're able to look at the industry kind of competitively as well. So me in financial services here in the UK, I would be looking at all of your top retail banks like Barclays, HSBC, RBS, Lloyds, and knowing what's going on in my specific industry area so that I can kind of come up with the best solutions for them. I think as soft capabilities, definitely you need to be a people person.
Right.
Good management consultants are more listeners than talkers, because what we do is go around to different stakeholders, different parts of the business. We speak to them about their pain points. We speak to them about what's going on, what's upcoming for them, what they need to do. And so even though management consultants are good speakers and usually they're good presenters and sellers and negotiators, they also have to be really good listeners and be able to kind of drill down through the fluff to what the core, the nugget of the problem is. Okay. Well, there's a book called The Trusted Advisor, and that's what we model ourselves after. It's an industry kind of handbook that it's, how can you be an advisor? How are you an advisor to people and to businesses?
All right. So trusted advisor, we will actually put that on the list, and actually because that's always great to know what books to actually go back and look at. Now, you're also a professor. You actually teach business. So what's the one thing that you've learned about business that cannot be taught in a classroom?
The going out and doing it. So business is about doing it. And so we can study in a classroom all you want. And I think this is for everything really, that classroom study is fantastic, is necessary.
Yes.
But there is a point where you have to stop reading about the merger and the acquisition and just do the merger or the acquisition. You have to stop reading about launching your business and just do it. You have to stop reading about launching your website and just do it. And I think that in this era, it's actually quite key to remember that, because sometimes I find that people think that because we're watching Friends on TV, that means we're making friends. No, we're not making friends. Because we're commenting about stuff on Twitter, that means that we are advocates. No, advocates are doing it and making the change. Commenting about it is not, and looking at it through a screen is not the same thing as actually doing it. So, for all of my students, I always say, hey, just have your go. Go out and do it. You won't succeed the first time, most likely. Very few of us do. We have a lot of failures on the way to success. So the sooner you get on that failure road and get used to it, then the sooner you're going to get to the success road.
Okay. So just go out and do it. And, and I love that, because we live in that information age where people are constantly learning, and it seems like there's not enough of the doing part. So I think that is actually very key and sound advice. Now, you focus some of your consultancy for creatives. How do you get creatives interested in monetizing and controlling their business without them feeling like they're selling out the core of what their business is?
The thing is that with the creatives that I was kind of fortunate to be friends with, what was happening was that, my friend Lorraine Dublin, she described it to me best. I remember a long time ago, she's amazing hairdresser, just amazing at her craft, award winning, and, did my hair for the awards last year, and just a really good friend as well. And, she was talking about the difference between being a hairdresser and then having a salon. And excuse me.
That's okay.
The problem is that there's this thing about doing your craft and being that artist and creating and making room for that. And then there's also something about running a business.
Right.
And those are two very different capabilities. And so the more she was running her salon was the less that she was actually putting her hands in people's hair and being the hairdresser that she loves to be. And so she had to find that balancing act. And I think with creatives, anyone who has that kind of creative output, you really have to make the time to, write the book and then also sell the book. You have to kind of create something and then you have to sell it and manage it. And that's why with creatives, I have a special kind of love for them, because it's not necessarily about, monetizing it more, but I help them focus on their output, so that I'm their trusted advisor, that I'm not going to steal their money from them. It's just about, I know business, they know their creative output. Let's put them together.
Right.
And so that they can actually kind of get value from what they're putting out there.
Okay. And that's sound. And keeping on that element of the smaller business, on the creatives, are there elements of corporate business strategy you feel they should consider implementing sooner rather than after they have grown in size?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Like, it doesn't have to be creatives either. I'm just talking about people. I just don't understand how people are waltzing through life not knowing what finances are and talking about their business people. Like, it really hurts my feelings in a deep and special way. I don't understand. Business is about the selling of your products and services. It's the exchange of products and services. Your products and services bring value to people, and then they give you their money. That is what business is about. And so for me, and no matter as soon as you start calling yourself a business, start calling yourself an entrepreneur, an enterprise, you know what, that's when you have to you have to start with the numbers and the figures. And it's amazing to me that people just don't know the cost of their own lives, much
Right.
less the cost of their business. They don't know how much that website costs, how much that equipment costs. They don't understand, what money they are putting into the business and how much money they need to get out just to be able to cover their costs, much less pay themselves. And I find that particularly with, underrepresented communities, the BAME community, women. That's why I'm such a kind of blowhard about economic empowerment, because some of the young kind of white cisgender men that I coach, they just on it. Like it's like they drank the water as they grew up. They drank that Kool-Aid from time, where for women, they're just like, oh, I want to give back and help my community. And I'm like, but girl, you can't pay your gas bill. Like, what's up? Your effort has worth. What you're contributing has worth. So, if people aren't paying for that, we got to do something about that, because we're so yeah. Like, it feels like we're great for community, particularly Black people. But sometimes it feels like we don't put the oxygen mask on first by just knowing our finances, by just knowing, how do we get wealthy? How do we just even manage to just pay our bills properly and take care of ourselves and our loved ones? So no, finance, no matter what.
You have touched a core for me, because you've actually said something that's very, very pertinent. Especially with Black women, we are great at wanting to champion others, and at the end of the day, work, prove ourselves in the workplace. And then at the end of the day, if you look at the poverty line when it comes to the end of your life, it's women who are poor. It's women who are looking and going, where did my money go? So I think that conversation about finances, we need to start having with little Black girls, not wait till when they're women, but have with little Black girls in kindergarten.
Yes. And it's just the whole mentality of, I try to make it kind of really simple. It literally is about the oxygen mask. Bill Gates dropped out of school, and he didn't say, I'm going to go help. What he said is, I'm going to make a lot more money. And now with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he is helping hella people. Mm-hmm. And I just want us to be able to do that. It's like, put the oxygen mask on yourself. Like, maybe you don't have to go to Microsoft levels in terms of your wealth. But what you find is that even, to be totally frank, you just see a lot of white peeps who, they graduate from school and they learn their craft, they're making their money. And then when they have a little bit of extra, that's their plan. They plan on the extra. They make the extra so that they can give back in a really meaningful, big, serious way, because they know that their money, the money that they have, will be able to make a bigger impact than just being that one lone voice. So there is a balancing act. You just find that too many Black advocates are poor. That's it. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, the background, people are coming to me, and that we're getting named on these lists of power and influence, and we're doing all this amazing work, and I'm just like, but we're not where we're supposed to be. For the amount that you have given to society, you are not where you are supposed to be. And I'm not talking about flossing and rims and stuff like that. I'm just talking about a comfort for those you and who you love, the people that you love around you.
I agree. And Melanie, we've had some questions coming for you, because I am so tempted to just leave us talking on this topic alone, but we've had some questions come in. So one of the questions that came in is, how did you find your legs in problem solving?
How did I find my legs in problem solving?
Yes. So I guess they're trying to ask, how did you get into that whole problem solving area?
I didn't lie to you guys. It was because mommy, like, everyone was just like lawyer, doctor, had some grand plans for me, and I was just like, yeah, but I really like money, and I want to make a lot of it, and I kind of like the business side of it. Like, I liked that whole business entrepreneurial side, and so solving business problems. I think I was always a problem solver, unfortunately. That's a bad answer. It's not, in terms of getting my legs in it, I did take logic at school. And I was also on the debating club. And so what that meant was that logic courses, your philosophy logic courses, they force you to look at problems in quite a, kind of how do you problem solve? Like, how do you kind of put blocks in place to come to the answer rather than kind of digressing off to, just kind of arguing all kinds of points that actually don't solve the problem. So I would say that between making it about my money and income, so that means it was close to my heart and it was important to me, taking logic courses. And then on top of that, I'm kind of craning my neck around to my bookshelf to see where I also have my master's degree, and my undergraduate degree is in philosophy and ethics.
Okay.
And ethics is actually, they're quite, how do I call them? Like, they're intractable problems. And what I mean by that is that ethics, unlike 1 + 1 = 2, ethics are more so kind of deep identity issues, deep kind of existence issues that actually don't have one solution. And so when you start to think about the world in that way, that's what really helped me. And those are courses that I took in university, and I also took some side courses in a local college as well.
Okay.
To kind of keep going.
Okay, so that makes total sense. So it's about you take a problem, you unwrap it, and look what's the logical next step to get to the end of that problem.
Exactly. Well, first I look at what the real problem is as well, because there are a lot of times where we when we phrase a problem up, or we kind of package a problem up, it's actually not the real problem. So you have to really kind of penetrate down and say, what is the problem here? And that means that when you're working with multiple people, you finding out what the deal breakers are. So I try to get to my deal breakers. I try to get to what the nugget of the issue is. So that, because you're more likely we call it going down the ladder of inference. So, for example, I'll say, oh, you know what? I don't like that blue shirt. Why don't you like that blue shirt? Because, I don't like the way it looks on you. Why don't you wear like the way it looks on me? And then you can kind of go down this path, and you may think that it's about the blue shirt, but actually it's about the color blue, and it's about the fact that, my father was a policeman and he died, and it reminds me of his funeral when all of the policemen were in blue. So you start to get to the real core of the problem. It wasn't about the blue shirt and the way it looked on me. It was the fact that what the blue shirt reminded you of, and actually where the real pain was.
Okay.
And so that's just so I encourage everyone to just kind of take a step back and stop talking and just really try to get down to the nugget of what the real problem is.
Okay. So what do you think your clients most appreciate about you?
I think they appreciate the vast expanse of my knowledge. So not only do I have kind of a particular industry depth, but also I can compare it against other industries in the same area. So, when I work with my consulting clients, my financial services clients, they appreciated my arts examples. When I worked with, I was speaking to a university yesterday, and I was able to draw on the media. So I think they appreciate that. And I think they also appreciate the fact that I'm quite plain speaking in the way that I don't like to use big words. And so my examples are quite, just quite kind of basic, like blue shirt examples. Okay. Yeah, the blue shirt. So I do like to kind of speak in my own language, really. I try to make the problem my own and try to phrase it back out to people in a way that, it makes sense to me, which is quite basic, really, rather than it being kind of, and you don't even understand what people are saying. So I think that's what I've heard that people like. And also it's about the passion. I only work with the people I like.com. And so I am privileged to be able to work on areas that, are really kind of personally passionate to me,
Okay. And I have a quick sidebar question. So this came from my production assistant, and he wants to know, your partner in crime, Rufus, chose black winter boots over his idea of beloved brown boots. He wants us to discuss this. First of all, why is Rufus choosing boots for you? That's my personal question.
But yeah, exactly. So Rufus, at the end of the day, Rufus, gosh, I love dogs. I really do. There's a purity there in relationship and just pure companionship that I've always had dogs. So Rufus is my third dog.
Okay.
Yes, Rufus is my third dog. Rufus is quite stylish. And so I'm going to keep it real. I would have chosen those boots anyway because the boots are fly and they're going to come out. They always come out. But what is lovely is when you walking down the road with Rufus, the world is a very different place. And I mean that everyone is just so friendly. The way that people respond to you when you have a dog, the way they talk to you is just unbelievable. And it changed my world here in London because I just was able to meet so many people just on the street, just kind of regular walking down the road. And it was really lovely. So yes, Rufus is choosing boots with me because when I go out with Rufus, the world is a much, much better place, much friendlier, much happier. And he brings out the best in people on the tube. They reach out and pet him. You just see a real, genuine love that kind of the UK has for its dogs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So just out of my curiosity, isn't Rufus in your Instagram picture where he's tucked up in bed? Is it where he looks all like he's not leaving the house for love or money?
Yeah, that was a meme, but that's Rufus. That was someone else's dog, but yes, Rufus does do that. I have to wake him up out of bed. He has a bed underneath my bed, a kind of a dog bed underneath the bed, and I have to drag him out in the early mornings. He doesn't usually try to get out of bed before 10.
Okay.
And that's the advice I'd tell anyone. If you're thinking of getting a dog, don't get the dog that's too hype. You don't want the hype squad dog. You want the dog that is lazier than you, because let me tell you something. When you want to sleep in the morning and your dog is trying to wake you up for a walk, it's not cute. It's not cute. So I know that I always wake up earlier than Rufus, and it is a good thing. So get the dog that is slightly lazier than you, my friends. That is my key dog getting advice.
Rufus is like, I'm not here for this 6 a.m. walk. Go by yourself. Go by yourself.
Exactly. Mad chill.
All right. So getting past Rufus now, looking at the gender pay gap, in your opinion, what can Black women do to challenge this pay gap?
Black women as individuals?
Yes. Or as us as a group. What can we start doing to seriously challenge that pay gap?
What I always recommend people do, and I think it applies to everyone, I think we need to start talking to each other. So it's against kind of practice, but it's not against the law for us to start talking to our equivalents and start thinking about how much they get paid versus how much we get paid. A lot of the stuff that's going on right now, with Black women, no. Okay, what's happened? I don't want to go too into it, but it's quite easy to measure gender in regards to organizations. Gender is mostly declared. And what I mean by that is that people kind of either see very clearly that you're a woman, or there are multiple forms that tell you, hey, I'm a woman, right? With ethnicity, it is not the same thing. The UK has kind of allowances for employers to take ethnicity information about you if you want to, but if they're based in the EU, Ireland, then quite frankly, they don't take it. So if you're talking about France, if you're talking about Belgium, those guys don't have it. So that's why you see companies like Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, the ones that aren't domiciled here in the UK, they don't have ethnicity information. Right. Why is that important? Why is the data important? Because that means that across the board, how are they supposed to tell who gets paid less from an organizational perspective? So what that means then, in terms of an individual, is that you got to go and do the research yourself and start talking to people. Right. You're talking to your equivalents and saying, okay, well, you know what? And it's a really tough conversation. I think I've had a whole kind of workshop on it in terms of how to bring that up gently with some of your cisgendered kind of white male colleagues to say, if you're a business analyst and I'm a business analyst, then, can you let me know what your range is? Or can you let me know what you're paid or your bonuses or whatever? Like that's because you kind of have to build a relationship to get to that point. So I would encourage all Black women, because the data may not be there from an organizational perspective, in terms of measuring the ethnicity pay gap, I would encourage you use your kind of the relationships that you have on the ground and build some and start to figure out and find out what people are getting paid at your level so you can actually determine if you are getting paid less or not. If you are in fact getting paid less, then I have workshops for days. I feel that are online about how to navigate asking for a pay rise. But in the first instance, what you have to do is figure out if you are getting shortchanged with your pay.
Okay. And you've actually picked on some key point about, for us to communicate more with each other as women. You've actually talked about the networking, the being able to have those powerful conversations. So are there clues to building really powerful, successful network that women of color can learn from the good old boy network?
So I think it depends on where you are. Networking is always good. It is always good in regards to, following through with your passion. And I think with networking, I always encourage people to network in the area of your passion. If you start networking there, then it becomes a lot easier to do it in other places like your career, where it may be just a temporary thing. I do think that I know that, if I'm quite frank, when I first started out in my career, then I did look for people who looked like me, so Black women. And then my mentor group started to change, I think, as I started to get more platform and get more seniority. And then you could see that a lot of them were white women.
Okay.
And then now most of them are white men. And that's because of where I want to go.
Okay.
In terms of my mentors. Now I still have my network, but I'm quite hardcore. I always talk about, because I was raised in the Pentecostal church. And so I always say I'm kind of like Jesus in that way where, I got my 3, I got my 12, I got my 20, and I got my masses, and the masses one day will love you and the masses one day will hate you. Mm-hmm. But who are your 3 that will pick you up off the ground when you can't walk yourself, when you have to go to the garden because you're about to get crucified and they're going to say, come on, you really got to do this? And then who are your 12 that you roll with, which are the apostles? There's always going to be a Judas once in a while, so you just got to keep it moving. But I organize my life that way in terms of, so I don't network the way that I used to, I think. But when I was starting my businesses and starting kind of my management consultancy career, because those were my passions, that's where I wanted to go, then I looked up events to kind of go and to meet people in that area. And that's how I've gotten all of my jobs. I networked to them. EY, I network my face off to get into that place because it's difficult.
Okay, so there is knowing how to network and knowing your end game and knowing that, as much as you're networking, you also need to have the right mentors for the right level.
Exactly, because iron sharpeneth iron. And I think that one of the disadvantages that I had growing up was I wasn't exposed to people who were at really senior levels of business for where I wanted to go. And so you realize that people are just thinking in a whole different way that you aren't even exposed to. You won't even know. Like it's like you're living in darkness and all of a sudden someone kind of shines a light. You're like, oh. So it's kind of the difference between, a journalist just starting out. They're like, wow, yeah, I got to call him, right? So they're hanging around with other journalists and they're like, yeah, that's it, I'm going to call him. And then, they're larging it because they get the features, right? So they're like, oh yeah, Michelle Obama's coming and I get the feature. So I get to go meet Michelle Obama. So, they're putting it on their Instagram, larging it out. And when you really think about it, I was like, okay, that's good. Don't get me wrong. That's amazing. But then there's also like 3 other levels above that. So there's the people who pay you. Yep. Are you networking with that level of people? Then there's the Michelle Obamas, who's the actual talent. Are you networking with that level of people? And then, importantly, where I want to get to is who were the people that were able to pay Michelle Obama the advance for her book? Who are those guys? Like, that's power. And the problem is that I find with Instagram and with, I don't know, just with the levels of access that we've had in the past, a lot of us are fixated on maybe that third level of, oh yeah, I'm enlarging it. I'm doing well because I'm the one who's interviewing Michelle Obama. Where actually what you need to do is go 3 levels up and say, wait, who was the person who had enough money and the channel and the power of that channel so that they were able to pay Michelle Obama and also, kind of attract Michelle Obama to say that that's who she chose. That's of the I guess the publishing company or the publishing company that she chose. Those are the guys that are heading off to Davos every year and deciding kind of like making the real big decisions on how things are getting done.
Okay, so it's like networking with the kingmakers, those who are above those that we think have already made it.
Yes, but it's also about kind of step change. Like you can't just leap up. I didn't leap to start talking to David Tyler, the chairman of Sainsbury's. Like that wasn't like I didn't talk to him when I was 28. Didn't even talk to him when I was 38. So it was a natural progression, and it was quite organic in that way.
All right, and so we're going to circle back to this. I'm going to put a pin in this point and circle back because I want to jump into the Black Business Awards, and I want to find out what inspired you to create it.
It's always the same. Like, you know what? It was right around the day. It was right around the riots. I was already working in kind of women in business, right. And I went to an awards program for women in business. It was amazing. It was making me cry. I'm seeing these women who have started these amazing businesses. It was the Every Woman in Business Awards, and they're every year on like December 5th. And so I said, hey guys, this would be great if Black people had something like this. And they're like, why don't you start one? And I was like, I don't know how to run an awards. And they were like, we do. And that's how we joined forces to create the awards. And it was simply because I was not seeing all of the amazing people that I knew of, that I knew directly. I was not seeing their reflection in the media that I consumed. So I was seeing kind of the same old tired tropes of Black stories every single day, whether it be in our dramatic media, our storied media, or in kind of our news and events and live events. Just wasn't seeing it. So, and most importantly, I saw that there was like an advent of that was happening in regards to Black kind of creativity and output, and we weren't getting paid for it either, right? So we were game changing in a sense, and Twitter was, just kind of with social media channels, we were doing so much with kind of Black movie, like, we were having our own social media channels on YouTube as well, our own productions, and we weren't getting paid for all of this creativity. And so at the core of all of it for me, and still is, was the economic empowerment of people. So let's get paid. Let's recognize the value, number one, and let's get paid for that value, number two, that we bring. And so thank God those things have just kind of fast forwarded now, like 7 years later, 8 years later after that thought, where we can truly see that, the Black contribution to any given economy is really being articulated in a different way right now. So I'm really grateful for that. But I do remember that when I started the Black British Business Awards, I was having arguments with people about why I was calling it the Black British Business Awards. People were like, that's too strong. Let's call it like the Starlight Awards or something, something that's totally doesn't allude to the fact that it's Black, like it was all kinds of stuff. And thank goodness, I went with my gut and I was like, nope, it's exactly what it says on the tin. Black, British, business. It's not that deep. I'm not calling it anything else. So that's how it really came to be. Then Sophie, every woman who I joined forces with met Sophie, and they're like, hey, you know what? You should join forces with Mel. And they were like, you should meet this woman named Sophie. And so I think, there was a combination of things that all came together to make the awards kind of grow and accelerate at the pace that they did. Right. And notwithstanding the fact that Sophie is, from Zimbabwe and I'm from Dominica and Trinidad. And I think it was one of the first unions that I saw where you had an Afro-Caribbean kind of headship, where we were lumped together as a people in this country, but then there was still some, stuff that we were still separate. We were separate. We had totally different histories. And so for the both of us to come together like that, Then it was also an election year, which meant that David Cameron, was also, and the Conservative Party at the time, they were also looking to engage with voters in a different way than or in a kind of more substantive way than they do when it's a non-election year. Additionally, Lenny Henry had come out and said, yo, all the black actors are moving to LA, right? Like you're training them and then you're losing them. So there was a focus on that as well. There's so many things that contributed to the kind of growth and acceleration of the awards that it was a secret sauce. I don't think you can ever repeat. So I try to tell people when they say, Mel, I want to start an awards, hey, it's not that it's hardcore, like I on top of that, having two white co-founders who had already started an awards program, who had already been working in women in business. So, half of our sponsors were already their sponsors in the first.
Okay.
Like Barclays and EDF, they were already working with every woman. We were able to accelerate because we had, number one, and I'm sure there was a level of comfort as well, why we have so many white allies as well, because our program was certainly an ally program. It was about celebrating black talent, but it was definitely about, if you believe that there has been an injustice that needs to be redressed, then come on board no matter what color you are. And it was important for us to engage the allies. And as I say, we needed to give white privilege the outlet. But right now, I don't see enough black organizations giving white peeps the opportunity to redress the white privilege that they have. I don't see them kind of saying, okay, well, you know what? Let's just say this did happen. So what do I do now? What do I do with my privilege? Help me, because I know something's wrong. I don't see enough organizations really coming at it from that perspective, and where we need to, especially in this country when we are 3% of the population.
I'm actually stunned to silence because you've actually verbalized something that I'm trying to have conversations about with certain groups. And when we talk about black businesses, and there's this almost a need to say we will only spend and grow within our community. And I'm saying it cannot work this way because we are where we are. We have to work at a larger game, because if we are only playing in this pool, we'll only stay in this pool. So that has me, yeah.
And this is how I know, going back to that earlier question about finances and business, this is how I know that people didn't do a goddamn business plan. Because if you look at, let's catch this joke, right? So now this may be slightly politically incorrect, but I remember I was having a conversation with my black girlfriend, and she was telling me that she only dates black men, and she's single.
Right.
Now, I was like, okay, so how's that working for you? And she was like, it's not working. I'm like, okay, cool. So let's just think about the stats, right? So this is, remember that, I think someone asked me about how I solve problems. So let's just think about the stats. Let's look at the market. That's what a consultant would do. Let's look at the market. So if you're looking at 3%, you only date black men, you're looking at 3% of the population. But let's talk about, there are some things that we have to automatically kind of account for. Number one, where do you live, right? So if you live in London, then that means that 3% of the population that's reflected, the part of the 3% of the population that's reflected in Edinburgh, that's reflected in Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, that's not part of your pool, right? Because you ain't going there and they ain't coming here. So take out some of the 3%. Then we got to talk about, okay, how many of those people are actually kind of eligible in terms of being of the marriageable age, right? So if you're in your 30s, that means let's just take out, and you date people in between the age of 25 and 45, let's just say, then that means you're eliminating all of the black men who are below the age of 25 and all of the black men that are older than 45. Then we got to go into, okay, you want to, who's married and who's actually available to be in a relationship, right? So then you got to take out those people. And then you got to take out the people who, because of your socioeconomic class or your level of education, then you got to take out the people who don't fit into the bracket in which you are operating in, right? And those are the standards that you have. So I was just like, well, did you find those two men? Like, did you find them? Because I'm not saying, and this may be politically correct, and I'm not saying that I'm just kind of, hey, going for interracial dating, but I'm just saying that if you look at the landscape of things, then, then you may come to a kind of a different, just logical conclusion. Like, what pool are you working with? So if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But know
don't
what the
belly ache.
consequences are. But know what the consequences are. Like, know what you're doing. And I think with business, it's the exact same thing. So if you're going to make a business of, say, selling African jewelry, right? African origin jewelry, and you want to sell it by Black people for Black people, then again, you got to do the exact same thing and say, okay, I'm only thinking about, let's just say it's women's jewelry. Okay, it's only men, it's only women. So take out the men, then it's only going to be people who have, who are based around the location that you are in. Then on top of that, it's only going to be people who have a certain disposable income, who even kind of have money to buy this jewelry. Then on top of, all of a sudden you start paring it down. You're like, okay, well, how are you going to sell to those? How are you going to make money selling to 2 people every year? Is that your salary? And so this is the same thing. I have these kind of arguments online where I'm just like, okay, it's great and everything if you lived in Nigeria, if you lived in Barbados. But all of a sudden, when you start living in the UK and you are 3% of the population, there are very serious consequences to having a Black-only targeted business. And that means that you have to pretty much cane it in order for you to be able to make a salary. You have to compensate for that pricing in another way. So some of my friends, they have luxury pricing, right? And their brand equity is, the cost of the item is £3, but the price that they're charging is £50, and that means they're making £47 on every item they sell. That's where there are consequences. But when you have a business plan, like when you really investigate this stuff, that's when you get it. Like that's when you start to really think about things in just a kind of logical numbers kind of way. If you start thinking about how much money you need to make, right? Like in terms of just running your business and running your life, and then break that down in the opposite direction and say, okay, well, if I want to make 60,000 a year, that means that I got to sell this many kind of bits of my product on a annual, monthly, weekly basis, and break it down. That means that weekly I got to sell 5 necklaces, but I only got 4 people to sell to. So how's that going to work? You know what I mean? Like it's logic, just putting those things together. And those are the kinds of things that I think, we're not necessarily trained up to do in some of our communities. And I certainly wasn't. I was fortunate to in the career that I was in to have exposure to that. But that's how people think. Sorry to go on a tangent. It's my
no. Tangent was good because you've made it the reality of it. Because breaking it down that way, people are like, oh, okay. So when you put it that way, I'm not doing myself any favors.
No, you're not doing yourself any favors. But all I want to do is empower people with the knowledge that when they're making the choice, they understand the choice that they're making. That's it. So, for example, I do for speaking, right? So, when you had a little bit of platform, you get a little bit famous, and people are saying, "Hey, come speak, come speak, come speak."
Yeah.
And I always tell people, particularly women who like to speak for free, you know what? Just speak on your terms, on your own terms, and accept freeness on your own terms. So, for every 5 paid speeches that I give, then I give 1 free speech.
Okay.
And if I don't give the free speech, and so that means that you just have to acknowledge how you're giving back and package up how you are giving back, package up how you're giving your freeness, package up how you are serving your community and what the value is of that, so that you are giving on your terms rather than kind of left feeling at the end of your career bludgeoned to death because you've just been serving your community, and then you have nothing to show for it. Because unfortunately, and this is like data, women, particularly Black women, we end up poor.
Yes.
We spend our whole life, we work, and then all of a sudden we come to a pensionable age. We barely have any pension. We last longer than our spouses, and so then we're usually alone. And on top of that, we spend all of our money caring for our friends and family, and so then we end up poor and alone. That was the report that came out last year that when I was working at WOW. We had a huge economic empowerment day, and pretty much that is what's happening with women in this country, white women and Black women, but Black women, it's more acute.
Yes. And,
so, yeah, Steve.
Melanie, I could sit and talk to you for a good few hours, and I want to, but I have some questions that I want to ask because
Sure.
there are some things I want to jump into, and I still want to stick with and come back to this point, but I want to talk about diversity. And when we talk about this, is diversity hiring in the corporate environment just a nice wish?
No, it's not a nice wish at all. I think organizations are at different levels. They're at different places right now, but the threat is real on the other side. And when I mean the threats, I mean that there is a global shortage. Again, so let's look at the stats. So you look at the stats of there's a global talent shortage. Right now, the Western democracies of Europe, they are all going through their birth rate is almost flattening. People are not having as many children or any children at all. And so you're finding that the countries that are having the most amount of children are countries that have basically brown people. And what that means is not only from an employee side, but on a consumer side. Additionally, with social media and the advent of social media and the advent of the internet, you're finding that these disenfranchised or underrepresented people have much more of a voice than they ever have before. They're involved in the economy in ways that they haven't been able to before. And so what you're finding is that there is definitely a clear kind of shift in regards to the power balance, and it's very slow. But what it does mean is that, number one, you know what, there are not enough white peeps to hire forever. We're running out. That's
Right.
just that's my flat, like, I said that at a university once, and they were like, "Did you just say that?" I was like, "Yeah," like, because the thing is, that's what the problem is that if you look at the U.S., if you're looking at the growth of Black America and Latin America as well, like the numbers are crazy, and white supremacists are scared. That's part of their message. That's part of their messaging, and so. No organization, no multinational organization will get away with this for long. There is a definite shift, and so it's a push. I would say that some organizations are doing it much quicker than others, and that's some of the newer industries are probably doing it much quicker than others as well. But change is coming, and it may not be in my generation, in my lifetime, but the world will be a very different place for a person, kind of 50 years down the road.
And I'm looking forward to that change. And like you said, we may not live to see it, but it's coming.
Yes.
And this question is, how does the fact that you've constantly pushed for diversity lead to being asked if you're just an angry Black woman?
Sorry, can you repeat that? So
How does pushing for diversity, because that's one of the things that you're known for,
yeah.
is pushing for diversity, lead to you being asked if you're just an angry Black
Yeah,
woman?
I know, right? Like, what can you do, girl? What can you do? You just got to keep it moving. Like, ish like that gets me angry. I can't now I think that there is something about kind of getting older and wiser and having a bit of a platform where I'm like, I can be angry. But on the other hand, I also am fortunate to work with the people I like.com. I don't engage in, I no longer, I value my time. And so I'm only going to invest my time in places where I can really change things, where it's a really kind of serious, deep, intimate conversation where we can really start to change mindsets and culture. Because that's what it is. It's one person at a time.
Right. Okay.
So, I don't engage in Twitter arguments. There are so many of my amazing advocate friends and colleagues that do it. I'm not the one to do it. That's not where my power is in terms of kind of articulating everything in 120 words, as you could tell, at 100 characters. So I don't really engage. I don't really engage in kind of that kind of for the firms that would have me call me that any longer. But unfortunately, it's part and parcel. And so I would encourage anyone who's doing this kind of work to say, well, you know what? Yes, and what?
And it's funny because the reason why I asked that was you had an experience at an interview where somebody asked you that.
Yeah.
And when I heard you talk about it, I was like, what? And
Yep.
how you got through that interview, I don't know.
Because I wanted that. I wanted that kind of job. I wanted that kind of role. And so, that was actually, I think I did my TEDx on that. It was resilience.
Yes.
And it gutted me. So I won't lie. And I think that anyone who has that kind of experience, acknowledge the hurt and anger that you're going through. Really, guys, kind of take it in, and feel it. Don't just suppress it because it comes out in other ways that you don't need it to. That experience is part and parcel, unfortunately, the journey that I had to go through to be here at the awards. I think Emily Sandé has a song. The phrase is, if I'm somebody else, it never happened to me. It's a song that she sings with Robert Glasper, and that's the problem. Is that the dark leads to the light. Philosophically, you have to experience dark to experience light, and I had to experience that in a real and personal way for me to be able to experience or create the light of the awards. I also had my squad, so I'd always recommend people having a squad, and my squad reminded me that was not okay. They also reminded me of where I wanted to go and where I wanted to be. My mentors at that time, particularly Black women, my more senior Black women, were just like, welcome to the club. And so the school really, really helped me kind of process that it was not okay. This is the world that we are in, and it's not okay. And you have to keep it moving, because you can't let this one person derail you from how hard you've worked for how far you have come. And so that's how I know I handled it now. But at the time, it was, me in tears, kind of walking home in the rain at night, listening to some random songs, with some doo-doo-doo-doo in the background. So yeah, processing it. It's tough. It's really tough.
Like I said, I listened to your TED talk and I was totally shocked. But like you said, you have to go through it to get to the other side. And we're talking about, the work that you've done, how far you've come. And one of the things that you advocate is having a team. So how important is it, a team versus going solo within a small creative business?
Oh, it really depends. Let me tell you, times get tough in business. Like, okay, oh man, it's just like democracy versus kind of a kingdom. And what I mean by that is, it takes longer for democracies to do things, right? Because you got to get everyone to collaborate and agree, and you got to bring people along. But then when you get there, it's sweet. There is nothing sweeter than when Sophie and I hug at the end of every awards ceremony on stage, and that is our ritual. Like, we say good night and then we walk across to each other and we hug each other because we got through another year. And so I think it's a choice that you have to make as a business person. When my sister, I went through quite an upheaval last year. My sister passed away, and there was a lot of kind of family drama, as there is in every family, and just a really acrimonious splitting up. And I was a shell. I don't even remember parts of the meetings that I went to. So I thank God for Sophie, because things happen. And though she carried the awards patiently, I didn't hear it from her at all, in terms of, and I know we were going through so much. We were launching research reports, we were launching accelerators, we were doing all these ancillary programs besides, and still had the ceremony. And I could see it, how tired she was, and I just couldn't get there, in terms of where I was and where I am right now in regards to being a full contribution. And she totally understood, of course, but that kind of experience, that made me a better business person.
Right.
Where I had to, all of the times where it wasn't where I was by myself. My best business experiences were with other people. my best experiences when I was climbing the Himalayas. And I remember I like I was cycling uphill. And I remember when my whole team was just like, you know what? We are only going as fast as the slowest person. So today, Melody is the slowest person. And I think, it's it gives you so much empathy. So when people are going through stuff, to just remember when you were the slowest person and people brought you along. And I think with business, things happen. And to have two people, it's an insurance policy. It really depends on where you are. If it's a lifestyle business and it's just you, then absolutely fine that it's just you. But Sophie and I had some big, dirty plans. And the inherent to the plan and the vision of the awards was collaboration. Just like it was just part and parcel was threaded throughout it. And so if two women could not collaborate and come together and do this, and quite frankly, we were speaking nonsense. Right. So it really depends on how key it is to your vision and where you want your business to go. But you will go there much faster, as they say, by yourself. But it'll be much better and much sweeter if you go there with somebody else.
And that's just powerful. And wow. So I think the only follow-up question to that is, are there ways to actually tap into a team if you don't necessarily have the initial resources to actually pay for that full team?
You know what? I'm not a really good person to ask that, and I don't know the answer to that. And because fortunately, all of the key relationships that I have in my businesses have been through me attending some random networking event or me having some random conversation, or and then following up with someone because there was something that we shared that we really liked about each other. And it grew organically from there. Right. And so I don't know how to kind of acquire a team because everything has been really organic. And that actually has produced the best results. But what it also coincidentally has led me to know and think is that, white peeps aren't necessarily racist when we're excluded. Because you hire what you know, you kind of work with the people that you know. When I wanted a kind of a dog sitter, then I went out to my networks and said, hey guys, I need a dog sitter. And then they kind of came back and I didn't have a diversity hiring practice for my dog sitter and to make sure that, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, I know it's a bit of an extreme example, but, it just reminds me that, people, that's Sophie and I came together organically. Our team, Fiona and Dawn, we came together organically. It was through another introduction and we were looking for somebody and then somebody said this. And so that's why you can kind of see how exclusion happens. Yes. Because you are kind of working within your networks. So I'm not a good person to answer that question. I just wanted to kind of say that just to kind of give people a moment of reflection to say, when you're hiring your cleaner, are you kind of practicing diversity? Most likely not. So when you're hiring your care and your babysitter, are you practicing diversity? No. And in the little power that you do have, are you practicing diversity? No. So is it any wonder that the state of the world is the way it is today?
This is true. So, you were also the executive producer of the Women of the World event. What drew you to be part of it?
Oh, man, because it's brilliant. For the last 5 years, I was doing how to get a pay rise. Right. I remember, I remember when I received the job posting. I think I received the job posting from Jude probably about 8 months beforehand. And I didn't look at it. It was more Jude was sending it to us, to the board of an organization that we're both on, to say, hey, I'm looking for somebody. If anyone knows anybody, let me know. So I just kind of, put it out on my Facebook and I kept it moving. And so all of a sudden I was like, wait, this could be a really good job. And on top of that, it was an EP role, right? It was executive producer. And I was clearly making a transition from management consultancy to more of a media arts kind of reflecting the production role that I had, like in regards to producing things or bringing people together to kind of make big things. Right. And so I applied for it. And she was like, really? you do know what it pays, right? So that was, like it's an arts council funded kind of organization, the South Bank Center. So it was a huge pay cut for me, and um, that and a huge culture shock as well. And some of my best experiences came from the Women of the World Festival. And it truly reminded me of not just the globality of gender equality, but just the globality of also being a Black woman as well. The Black women that I met in Melbourne, it humbled me, in Rio, in Baltimore, New York. I It was just one of the best experiences of my life. And Jude was she's a mentor and a friend. What she has managed to do and the legacy that she was leaving, the conversations that we were able to have in terms of Black and white, it took me to another level. It took me to another level of leadership and another level of business.
Right.
And so I'm really grateful to her. And every year when I have the awards now, she's like, hey, she calls me in the morning. She's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And it's just so nice to, it was a really amazing experience.
Okay. And, I am looking at the work that you've done. I'm looking at everything, and I'm looking at, even your TED Talk, and you talk about resilience, you talk about success. And so my question here is, looking back on yourself, and have you ever experienced moments of profound self-doubt, and how did you handle it?
Now, let me tell you something. I don't even know, like this, and this may sound like a spoiled brat, whatever. I'm going to say it anyway. Sometimes success is not a good thing. When you realize how brave and courageous successful people are when they go in a totally opposite direction.
Right.
What I mean by that is so I have these awards. It's great. It's a success. I had a career in management consultancy in one of the best firms in the world. It was great, right? But when I flipped from going from management consultancy to being a professor, that was a total flip mode squad. And I had to learn and unlearn some of the stuff that I'd learned as a consultant and be like a student again in terms of how to be a professor. And what I mean by that is, consultants, we're trained to make sure you know how smart we are.
Right.
And what I mean by that is you need to get the value for money, right? Like you need to be assured that the fee that you're paying is worth it. Where the dean of my university was like, Mel, you need to come at this from a total point of view. You're a consultant. That's what you do there. Here, you don't have to prove to anyone that you're smart enough. By virtue of you being in the front of the room, that's all you need. What you need to do is focus on getting the stuff that's from you in your brain, getting it out into those students' brains and making it stick so that they know it. That is your only concern. The best professors don't focus on making themselves look smart. The best professors focus on making their students smart. And so that's a total, that was a game changer moment. And I had to relearn everything. And then I became executive producer of WOW. And it was just like a total, again, game-changing moment to start all over again. And then now I have this awards program. It's fantastic. And I'm launching these online courses. And I literally have to just go back to basics because I don't know anything about kind of internet marketing and videos and online workshops, online courses to literally build an internet dominion. All I want to do is just offer courses online. And I've had to take, courses and be a student. And so one thing I'm so glad for is that I now have the confidence to go back and be not that great at something and try something. So I've said, okay, I'm going to do this for a year. And if it doesn't work on the other side of the year, then I got to keep it moving, but I will cane it for a year. And that is hella scary because right now I don't even know. People are like, of course, Mel, people are going to register for your course. Really? Are they? Because Black people don't like to pay for nothing, so I'm not sure about that. So it's, it's that culture, you find all these excuses on why you're not going to succeed. However, it's really, really key, actually, really, really key for us to achieve success. Even if we achieve success at something, that we have to go back and be children and learn again, because that's what keeps us young. That's what keeps us growing. That's what keeps us hype. And then we're just adding more and more bows to our arsenal. So yeah. I'm hella scared right now because right after I come off this call, I'm going to have to work my backside off. on this bloody online course, but it's what I want to do. It's my passion. I'm going to do it, and I got to start something new all over again and build it from scratch. But hey, it's scary, and I might fail. And no one really talks about the failures or like the things that didn't work out. Before the Black British Business Awards, there was the Center for African Progress. Does anyone know about that? No, because it didn't work out. People just think I popped out of the planet. And I was like, oh yeah, let me do this awards and it's going to be a success. Yay. No, no, no. I was I was the chair of the West Indian Students Association. I was doing these things from time, and the Center for African Progress was the first venture that I'd been involved with here in regards to kind of having a kind of a black thing, big event that brings together a bunch of people, and it fizzled out, and so, hey, you got to keep trying. You got to keep on trying. Exactly. You just got to keep on trying. So, but we don't focus on the failures. We don't focus on the mistakes or the missteps of when, Steve Jobs got fired from his own company. We don't talk about that, even though he did get fired from his own company, right? Before he passed away, before Apple kind of really took off. We don't talk about Bill Gates. We don't talk about their mistakes, their missteps, the things they did beforehand. We don't talk about the deep pain that they went through to even start these businesses. We don't talk about the fact that, Mark Zuckerberg, in starting Facebook, he was trying to make a social network because he had no friends. Like that's the reality of it. You don't start a social network, you have a lot of friends, right? Like you don't know, but that's the thing. It's the pain.
Yeah.
About those things. You don't talk about the angry black woman stuff, but that formed the awards. So big success comes out of big failures, comes out of big kind of hurts and disappointments, and ultimately what you are doing with the business is solving business problems. So yeah, it's deep. Deep.
Very, very deep. And I am in awe of you, and so I have a couple more questions, but this is my question. What do you want your legacy to be?
I was like, my legacy, man, I just want people to be economically empowered at the heart of it. I want people to say that, yeah, I would love people to say that. I think it's probably if it was my eulogy, that I loved my people passionately, and I spoke for the underdog, that I lived my life ethically, with integrity, with honor, and with love for the people that I have come in contact with. And I provided a platform, a really big platform for a whole lot of people to shine. That I want my legacy to probably be what my mantra is that if you're gonna let me in the door, then you're gonna have 1,000 more of me coming right after me. So you might as well just get a bigger door, so that opens doorways and platforms for other people to shine.
That's a legacy.
Yeah, so I'm hoping. Still working on it.
Work in progress. Okay.
Yeah, work in progress.
All right. So now, prior to Michelle Obama's memoir, what was your previous read?
Just a second. I'm going into my Kindle. And I totally forgot about it. Let's see. What was I reading? I was doing an online course, actually, but that's fine. We won't talk about that. Oh, no. That's not the one. Whoa. The Millionaire Mind.
Ah, okay.
It was a reread because I'd already read it a few years ago.
Okay, is this The Millionaire Mind? Is this by Mecca? Yeah.
And then, sorry, I'm just looking around. Yeah, I know that was my most recent one.
Okay. And, just out of curiosity, have you had a chance to start Michelle's book?
Yes, I have.
How is it?
It's good. I have it on Audible, got the hardcover, I got them all. I have it all.
Okay. All right.
All, all.
I'm getting mine today. Today.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I pre-ordered that the moment I saw it come out. I was like, I'm not even playing. That stuff landed at my doorstep on the day it was released. I was like, don't play with me, people. Don't play. And then Audible as well, because I love Audible. I love Audible for biographies as well, particularly when the writer is the reader. And so, I do it with Oprah's books. Oprah says all of her books, and it's fantastic because it's like Oprah speaking to you. And so, it's literally like Michelle is speaking to you.
Ooh. Okay, so I'm gonna have to get that too.
Yeah, you do. It's worth it, my friends. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Okay. So you just mentioned Oprah. So I have to ask, how did you come to meet Oprah 4 times?
Because my girlfriends are wonderful people, and they are giving me a birthday present. So I met her on my birthday, and Christy, it was just a bunch of. I'd always talked about wanting to be like Oprah, being Oprah, love Oprah, love Oprah, and I think and they heard it. The universe heard it, and so what happened was that they. When she had come here for the for her film promotion tour, then
Right.
multiple friends organized for me to engage with her or be with her in that kind of way. So that's why, by the end of her trip, she's like, "You again?" And so that's why we were able to have a real kind of a big laugh about our glasses and the fact that we look like sisters in our photos because we were wearing the same like color scheme and big glasses and stuff. And got to have a real conversation with her about the Black British Business Awards and what I wanted to do. And it was just such a blessing, really. Like, she's just a wonderful woman. Between her and Michelle Obama, just, there's a sense, I think a friend of mine said it, male friend, he said, those are the type of women that they're so powerful, so amazing, but they still, you feel like they smell like cocoa butter and hair grease.
That is not
you know,
the idea I've
I-
had for Oprah, but okay, I'll work with it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's it was still like speaking to somebody like that you knew forever, right? And that's a kind of legacy that I'd want to have as well. Actually, now that you just kind of talk to someone and it feels like you've been talking to them forever. That they're genuinely interested in you.
Okay. So you are a busy woman. You also have a little dog you take care of as well. Or
Yes.
yeah. How do you take care of you? What are your self-care practices?
Self-care practices. I take baths. I have like 10 kilograms of Epsom salts
Yes.
that I mix up with lavender and rose oil, like lavender buds and rose petals. I have a big jar of it. I love reading as well. With a dog, I love walking. So I love the parks. I hike every 2 weeks. So I go somewhere outside of London, and a friend of mine, Michelle, and we go hiking, like to the South Downs, or like just go for the day, and then we have a beautiful pub lunch,
Okay.
and then yeah, I laugh a lot, and I make sure that I laugh. So I watch things that make me laugh, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Don't know how to describe it. Yeah. So yes, I do the things that I love, and I hang around with the people that I love. I stay home a lot. I think people will be surprised if you look at my Instagram profile. It looks like I'm out every day or I'm out all the time. And my friends know. Sonia just laughs at me because she's like, I don't go to parties as much anymore. I really love my house. I love plants. I have a lot of plants in my house. It's a deep problem. Yeah, so I love deep conditioning my hair. Like, it's a bit of a problem. Like when you come over, particularly when you like all these lovely women are sending me all these hair products, and I'm like, ooh. And so I literally deep condition my hair. It's big. Like, I'm talking like pre-poo, then I got a shampoo, and the shampoo I got to keep staying for like 5 minutes, and then I do a clay mask every other week, and then I do a deep conditioner with a heat cap.
So it's a whole day affair.
Oh yeah, definitely. I rub lanolin in the ends so I can preserve it, especially now because I'm wearing my hair natural. So, yeah, and my hair has still not gotten used to kind of moving back here, and so I'm just kind of keeping it protected and stuff. So I love deep conditioning my hair as well. I put on face masks every 3 days.
Okay.
So I'm walking around in a face mask in my house with a deep conditioner.
Listen, that sounds absolutely fine. I tell people I don't trust people that don't take baths. If you are not taking a bath at least once a week where there's something involved, we can't be friends.
Yeah, baths are lovely. Like my girlfriend, she doesn't like baths because she's like, I don't like sitting. She has to take a shower before she gets into the bath because she doesn't like sitting in her own dirt.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I get that
I
part.
get that. That's why I was like, I get that. That's why it's like it was a lot of effort for her because once she finishes the shower, she's like, am I really gonna sit down and have a bath now? So, I can kind of see where she's coming from, but I do love. I used to do. I just moved neighborhoods, so I miss it terribly. But I used to kind of go for a steam every week. I also forage as well. Like when I'm out, like I pick like wild garlic. Right now it's rosehip season, so rosehip oil is really expensive. I don't think people. You can get I think it's like 30 mils for 40 pounds or something ridiculous like that. And it's a really great antioxidant oil for your skin. And so I went picking rose hips and I, have like a little nut bag where I kind of like extract the oil. And then that's what I've used on my face for so many years, my skin. And
Wow.
I think, it's really hardcore, some of the things that I get involved with. But it is back to the land. Like I love just being in the green, sunny, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not sure I will go that far, but I am with you with the rose hip oil. The oils are great.
It's lovely, yes.
Oh, Melanie, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. So my last question for you is, what was the last holiday destination you picked while on holiday?
The last destination I picked while on holiday, I picked Bali while I was in Barbados.
Okay.
But I didn't end up going to Bali. But you said what I picked, and then
Yes.
at the last minute, I couldn't go to Bali. I had bought my tickets and everything. I was supposed to go with my friends for her, what do you guys call it? Stagette,
Bachelorette?
hen do. And I didn't end up going because of work. So I'm gutted about that. So I'm hoping that I got to figure out where I'm going to go this year.
Okay. So, I think that's gonna be my last question. Actually, I lied. I'm gonna do the Columbo thing. What's next? What's next for you, and how can people reach you?
My website is really easy, melanieusebe.com. And what's next? I told you, it's this bloody course, my friends. It's this course. I absolutely love it because it's just, it's just so important to me. I did a survey. I put out a survey last week because every time I spoke, people were asking me about just the kind of the economics, their financial matters. And so I was like, hey guys, what's the stuff that's really on your mind about your money? And I don't necessarily mean just your plain kind of vanilla budgeting or, buying a house or anything of the like, but just your money mindset stuff. Where do you know you have a real gap? Because we're making more money than we ever have before, and it just feels like we're less wealthy. And I could not believe the response that I've gotten. People are just coming at all kinds of ways saying, I have so many concerns about my money mindset. How do I ask for a pay rise? How do I determine what I charge? How do I I budget for my company. I can't budget for myself. Like it's, I want to be an employer, not just an employee. How do I move that? It's all kinds of things that maybe aren't directly kind of, talking about money in your hand, but it just around kind of money and your value and your worth. And so that's why, that's why I start the free part of the online training next week.
Okay.
And so that's what's next. And then it goes into the paid part right before Christmas so that we can get our budgets in right. So that by the end of 2019, like, you got this. And that's what I want. I want people to be really comfortable with it. So that, there's no way, I don't want people to have to ask me about how to get a pay rise. I don't want people to have to ask me, how do I know how much to charge? I want people to just feel empowered to just not know how much to charge, but to know that they have every right in trying to figure it out. Do you know? Like, just the empowerment and entitlement. That's what I want for people. And so that's what's happening. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, so head over to her website, join the course. I might actually join the course myself. And let's make Sorry, say that again.
I said it's deep. We're not getting paid enough. What's going on? Like, there's too many mind blocks. And it's just you see that the mindsets of the millionaires, the mindsets of the rich, the wealthy are very different in terms of how they value their time and their money.
Exactly.
And so, like, let's get to stepping, people.
Okay, so she's told you, get on her website, get on her course. So, Melanie, thank you so much for being on the show today. And like I said,
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I could talk to you for hours, and I probably have to get you back on the show to talk about some other things and in more depth. So, yeah, looking forward to getting you back on the show in 2019.
Brilliant. Yeah, because we met like 2009.
I know. It took us this long to get it.
Yeah, exactly. 2009, as I was looking at, I was like, damn.
So, yes, this is absolutely fabulous. So, again, I cannot thank you enough. And go hang out with Rufus. Let him choose you some more black boots. And looking forward to the course.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. It's a wrap. So, yes, you know what to do. If you love the show, follow us, tweet us, talk to us. Tell us what you want to see, hear more of. And if you loved our guest today, download the show, share it with your friends, and keep listening. Good night, or no, actually, good afternoon.
You've been listening to the Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Shine Out Show.